Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this open house. I'm Dr. Bob Cannon, the headmaster of Veritas Scholars Academy, and it's my pleasure to ask you all to please bow your heads and hearts as we pray together to open up this meeting. Lord Jesus, I ask that you'd be with us. I thank you, Lord, for my colleagues and the preparation that they've put into this meeting that we're having, for those families who are considering whether Veritas Scholars Academy is a terrific place to have their children be educated by our dedicated and wonderful teachers. I ask, Lord, that you would provide us with the knowledge, the information that we ought to be sharing here this evening. Much of it has been prepared, but if there are some nuances, if there are other details, Lord, if there are questions during this meeting that you might have us answer so that families can make an informed decision about the alignment that they have with our company and our academy. Lord, I ask that you would equip us in that way. I also pray for those families who are in attendance here. Lord, that you would give them discernment, even by your Spirit, as they decide where their children might study in the coming year. And thank you, Father, for bringing us together with one mind, Lord, to honor you first and to honor one another next. And I ask you to be present with us in this very meeting. And we pray in the great name of Jesus. Amen. I'll turn it over now to Rebecca Tunstall. Rebecca is our manager of diploma services. That's our diploma program. That's our full-time program. And she will open us up even further. And again, thank you for being here. Becca, it's all yours.
Thank you, Dr. Bob. It's great to see you guys all here today. I'm so glad that you were able to make it. We know that time is precious, and the fact that you spent just an hour with us really matters to us. We want to make sure it's a time full of information that is helpful to you. At the end of this session, we're going to make sure to have time to answer any questions that may come up throughout the presentation. If you're here today, you're interested in understanding how to foster community in this unique learning environment, and we're really excited to share that with you. But we also know people come from all different backgrounds, and you're here for different reasons. Some of you have high school age kids. Maybe you're just starting your homeschool journey. Perhaps you're very familiar with classical education, or maybe this is the first time you've really even considered it. We want to give you just a little bit of background to understand why we educate the way that we do, and then focus on the ways that we build community in light of that. So as we're speaking through today, our agenda will cover what classical education is, how does it look in real life. We're going to understand sort of what our population at VSA is. It's very exciting. I think you're going to enjoy seeing that map. How do we foster community in the virtual setting? How do we use that community to go ahead and further the mission of Veritas as well? And then the advantages to the courses and the diploma program as they all come together. So what exactly is classical education? Well, this could be an entire webinar, an entire multi-series piece, but we're going to kind of shorten it down to something quick. Let's see what it's not. What it's not is an outdated, ancient form of education. Yes, it is an ancient form of education, but it's certainly not outdated. We believe that God is the same yesterday, today, and forever, and we believe that we're made in his image. Therefore, the things that we can really look to the past and learn and see what has stood the test of time is still very relevant to us today, if not more relevant. Times are changing fast. Some of you, if you're anything like me, you maybe felt a technological whiplash in the last few years of very drastic changes. Things are happening quickly, and it's kind of hard to keep up with it. But in classical education, it's really exciting because we're going back and seeing that although the situations change, technology changes, culture may be different, we're dealing with the same issues that we've always dealt with. And our bodies and our makeup, that hasn't changed, how we're designed. So when we're looking at classically educated students, our goal is to master, really help them what they think, why they think it, and then have wisdom to communicate out that information. We're going to search the past to glean the information we need for moving forward. So as you can see, some of these terms you might hear in classical, if you're on some boards or you're trying to understand a little bit more about classical education, you'll probably see instead of elementary, middle school, and high school, you'll see terms like grammar, logic, and rhetoric. Although they're not identical to middle school, elementary school, and high school, we'll sometimes use those a little interchangeably to show the developmental stage of students. There are really three stages of learning. They all interact together. It's not as if in one stage of learning, we're doing this and then we forget about it and move on to the next. They build on one another or scaffold in. And so I want to show you what it looks like in each stage. At the grammar stage or elementary, if you have elementary students here, this stage focuses on consuming an enormous amount of content and knowledge. Content and knowledge that we've really thought through, prayed through, considered, gone through a rigorous process of considering what is of value to share with students for them to build their knowledge base. There'll be lots of timelines and jingles and foundational pieces. If you are thinking, well, why do you spend so much time pouring content in? A lot of memorization and going over this material again and again. I bet every single one of you, no matter your age, whether you are 10, 30 or 97 and you're here today, I bet you can remember something that you learned back in grammar school, a jingle. Maybe you memorized a song that helped you learn about the 50 states and their capitals. We consume so much knowledge in this period of time. Our neurons are firing and we're forming pathways. And so we lean into that in classical education and say, let's try to help you master the facts so that as we move on to the next two stages, you have a great knowledge base. We move to this middle school age or dialectic stage, we're going to really start to see that students love to ask questions. If you have a middle schooler here right now and you're attending our session or watching us later on the archive, you probably have a student who asks you why all the time. They're always saying, well, why do I have to learn this? Why do I have to take this test? Why does it matter if I make my bed? I'm just going to get back into it. They're asking these questions continually. And instead of saying, hey, stop asking the why, just accept it, we lean into that. We say, yeah, I'm glad you're curious. If you're curious and you genuinely want to find truth of the answer, we want to provide that with you. Let's figure out how to ask good questions. Let's figure out to get deeper than just the why. What's a good question to ask? Because they love to ask it. Why would we take that from them? It gives them ownership of education. So in classical education, we really encourage this time for students to challenge and to ask questions, but with a foundation of truth and an environment of people who are trying to push them towards the correct understanding in light of God's word, which then builds in to the rhetoric stage, or what we would say is high school traditionally. That's a typical age frames that we're talking about. At this stage, we're saying that's great that you have knowledge. It's great that you've asked questions, that you've broken apart things and put them back together in a way that makes sense for you in your life. But what do you do with this now? Do you just sit on it and, hide it under a bushel, so to speak, or do you do something with this? And of course, our desire is for our students to go out into the world and to communicate what they've learned and what they understood with grace and love and the desire to form logical arguments, to present information in a way that is gracious, but also competent and is really getting a point across. In classical Christian education, this is even more important because we have a foundation of truth that is God's word. And so at the grammar level, we're studying God's word. We're learning to understand it. We're understanding timelines, the historical context, the literary context. We're pulling all of that in. And then in the middle school level, we're really wrestling with some of the challenges that come out of that. And then at this rhetoric level, we're saying, okay, now how do you communicate the truth of God's words to Jerusalem, Judea, and the ends of the earth? Each of these stages is important in the foundational development of our students, and our teachers care deeply that students lean heavy into how God designed them, and that we as adults can continue to practice this. Sometimes we learn a new topic and we have to go all the way through all three stages because we really don't have a knowledge base. We've never really asked those questions, but it becomes second nature. And so it's really exciting to see that. And I am blessed to have been able to be an educator here at Veritas Scholars Academy and see just how exciting it is to see students go through these stages. But then that brings us to today's topic, which is community. What does this have to do with community? How do we foster that? Well, if we believe that we are leaning in a classical education model into how God designed us, there's one other important aspect of who we are. We're designed to be in community, in relationship with others. So we here at Veritas do not say, oh, it's a virtual space. We don't have to hear from the students. In fact, we deeply desire and facilitate everything with the desire to build relationships. And we get to do that with people from all over the world. So I'm going to turn this over to our Dean of Students, Laura King, and she's going to really share some of that with you.
Thank you so much, Rebecca. So again, thank you so much for joining us this evening. Rebecca had mentioned earlier that we were going to be excited to see a map, and so I don't want to delay that for us. When we look at this map of the world, and you recognize that all of those countries that are in yellow are representative of our Veritas Scholars Academy families, it's pretty exciting to think that as we're talking about, sharing the gospel, and we're talking about being winsome and communicating with people from all over the world. Well, our students have the unique opportunity to communicate with people from all over the world without ever leaving their own homes, without ever leaving their computers. So if you look at the map here, it looks like all of our continents have been represented with the exception of Antarctica. You never know how God is going to provide there as well. But it adds such a unique flavor to our classrooms when we have students who are from Africa and South America and North America and maybe even in Asia, all in the same classroom, bringing their unique backgrounds, bringing their unique cultures into the discussions that they have in class. Now, as Rebecca had said also, community is very, very important to us. I know, and it's very important to you as parents as well, because we know that if we provide our students with an excellent education, but they don't have any friends, they don't have anyone that they can communicate with outside of class, it doesn't make for a great atmosphere. So, what we encourage families to do, and we foster community using these different aspects that you see on the screen. So, we have clubs, both for upper school kids as well as lower school children. We also focus specifically on community through different platforms that we use, and we'll have some students actually come and talk about that momentarily. And then another aspect of classical education is moving through these educational stages is also to be in leadership. We want our students, whether it is in class leading a discussion, whether it's in class working together on a project in a breakout room, or whether it is in some formal fashion of leadership, we want to train them to be those people who can go out into this world and fulfill the mission of our school, which is to win one heart and soul and one heart and mind for Christ throughout the globe. So they can't do that if they don't have any kind of training for that. So just to touch briefly on some of the clubs that we have. So these are some of the clubs that we have for our lower school. Now, it is not an extensive list, but we also know that children this age might need a little bit of rest in the evenings. And this does not mean that this is going to be an exclusive list. This list can change from year to year. But I thought it would be interesting for us to have Mrs. Tammy Kabakshin. She is the one that runs our baking club for our lower school kids. And then I've invited one of our students who is in baking club also to join us to share a little bit about how we do a club like baking club when everyone is online. So Mrs. Kabakshin, if you'll come up here, and then Gianna, you can come up with her and you guys can talk about how clubs work. And then Gianna, you can tell us what it means to you to be in clubs with some of your friends.
Okay. Gianna, are you coming on webcam too? We actually just finished club about 15 minutes ago. And tonight we were working together and making a cream cheese pound cake. So you can see by the picture here that the students all come online. They're all up on webcam. And we just start baking together. I'm in my kitchen and I measure out ingredients and I tell them what to add and we work together. They'll hop on mic and they'll say, oh, well, what do I do next? Or is it time to add the butter in? And do I cream the butter now? And do I put my eggs in? And we, in baking club, one of the things that I have told the students, I'm not picking recipes out of the kids' cookbook. These students, we have worked together. We've made homemade apple pie. We've made homemade breads. We've done cookies, bars, cakes. I mean, we've made some really interesting recipes. Some of my favorites that I've been baking for many years. I share these favorites with the students. Then they send me pictures afterwards of all of their creations and I post them on our homepage and they get to share their recipes and what has turned out. And a lot of times I get recipes, pictures rather, of students and they're taking a big bite out of a cookie, or they're showing me that half of, I have one student, they love to take it right out of the middle of the cake instead of like starting at the end, which was kind of funny. So anyway, we have a really good time together, and I like baking club with these younger students. They're usually between 9 and 11. A lot of times, mom or dad is in the kitchen with them, which makes it special for those students. They're building memories with their parents. And then many of these students tell me that they're in class, they'll say, oh, I'm in Latin class with Kendi, or I'm in grammar class with Gigi. And so besides just being in class together, they come and they enjoy club together. And it's just a low key, lots of fun getting together time. And they love sharing their recipes and their pictures of their finished products with me. And then I post them and share them with the rest of the club members. So Gianna is here. I think she told me she was coming to this meeting as well. Gianna, are you here? Is she on webcam?
Yes, ma'am. She's right next to your webcam, actually.
Oh, she is? Well, I don't see her for some reason, but that's okay as long as she's there. Gianna, do you want to share a little bit about what you like about Baking Club?
Hello, I'm Gianna Pearson. I'm in 5th grade, and I'm here to talk about Baking Club. Baking Club is fun because we get to learn about things we enjoy, we are taught by an excellent teacher, and we get to meet other students we have familiar interests as we do. Every 2 weeks, we come to club with a recipe, and everyone gets to bake it at the same time. And we learn the skills to be able to make this recipe again in the future. We get to have fun with our friends and make new ones. I really enjoy Baking Club this year and always look forward to it. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, Gianna. So Gianna is one of our faithful Baking Club members. And last year when we started club, this is the 2nd year we've been doing Baking Club. Last year we had a little contest to name our baking club. And so we've kept the name, and we are known as the Batter Up Baking Club. And we have about 35 members. Not all of them come every week, but it is a large club. And like you see here, as many as want to go on webcam, they can. And if they don't want to, they don't have to. But we all work together to create something that we can share with our families. And I encourage them to share with others as well, neighbors or grandparents, to share the things that they have made and be a blessing to someone else.
Oh, thank you both so much for sharing that with us. So I actually teach Gianna the morning after Baking Club. So she and her friends always come to class, and before class begins, they're typing in the chat box and they are just explaining, how fun club was the night before. And so it's just been a real blessing for me, even as a teacher, to be able to see the relationships that are building among the students, even beyond our classroom. So that is a great example of a club from one of our lower school. So Gianna, if you need to go, that's okay. Thank you so much for coming to be with us tonight. I appreciate that. I think I have to give her extra credit in class tomorrow, but don't tell her that I said that. All right, but then moving on, we also offer clubs and a much more extensive list to our upper school. So you see anything from apologetics to yearbook club to French. They also have a cooking club. The picture that you see here in the middle, a little bit blurry, but this is actually a picture of math club. Some of us may not realize that so many students are interested in being in math club. And I know that this is not representative of all of the students that are in there. But the teacher did tell me that she had to actually take 2 separate pictures and splice them together because there were so many students coming up on webcam. So to represent our upper school clubs, I've invited our editor of our yearbook, Charlotte Kellum. So Charlotte, if you'll come up and just share with us a little bit about what it's like to be in a club at the secondary level and what type of skills that you come away with from that club and also the community that you're able to build with others.
So yes, I was the editor-in-chief of the yearbook this year. It was a great experience. I've been doing it for about 6 years now. It's a great experience to work as a team, especially when you're working in an online environment. It's definitely different, but you could definitely uh, build yourself up, and there's plenty of resources in the yearbook club to become better at design. And even if you come into the yearbook club knowing nothing about design, you could definitely have the resources to build up that skill. And there's also that aspect of you get a physical yearbook, which is like a physical representation of all your work at the end of the year, which is really satisfying. Um, and it is a bigger time commitment than a lot of the clubs because it's twice a month, but it's definitely good for team building. I've become good friends with a lot of people in the yearbook club over the years because it is so collaborative. I'm also pursuing design after high school, so a big part of that was from the yearbook club and learning how to design and getting that experience before I go off to college. It's really helped me over the years, and there are also a lot of leadership positions. I was the marketing manager one year and then a section editor, and then this year I was the editor in chief. So there's ways to build up and to get more experience in leadership. Looks great on transcripts, and there's a lot of positions open for next year. So you can come and start building your resume there, and have more experience in design, which has been so helpful for me over all these years. So thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Charlotte. And Charlotte, if you're able to stick around, you would actually apply to our next slide as well. So Charlotte mentioned several positions of leadership. And as we had mentioned on a previous slide, also that building leadership skills in our students is something that is very important to us. And in building leadership, we also see that it builds community. So we have some leadership opportunities that you see on the left-hand side of the screen, including National Honor Society. So the gray box that's on the screen right now talks about service. What does service look like in your world? Being in a virtual environment, we have people from so many different cultures and backgrounds and geographical locations and demographics that service does not look the same for every student that walks through our virtual doors. So one of the questions, what would a reasonable biblical model look like? Where would you go? What would make sense if you were attempting to think about service with a biblical worldview? So these are some of the questions that are posed to our National Honor Society students. Are there exceptions to your model, any specifics, and so on? Now, the picture that I put up here is of National French Honor Society induction. So we do have language honor societies also. If I try to put our National Honor Society picture of all of those members, it would take up this slide and many more. So I stuck with just a smaller slide that we see here. So we have the academic side of leadership, but then we also want to get into the more social side of leadership as well, which is something that our students are going to deal with a lot as they go through their education. So for Veritas Scholars Academy, we have a platform called Student Commons, in which students are divided into age groups, so third grade through fifth grade, sixth and seventh grade, eighth and ninth grade, and then 10th through 12th grade. And they have a chat platform that they are able to communicate with one another. They're able to post videos and memes and things like that. And having so many students on these platforms, we also need some very skilled student leaders who can help manage all of these posts and all of this chat. Because if I were to try to go into these discussions, it would be scouring through thousands and thousands and thousands of comments. So we have a really great group of high schoolers who work together as moderators of this Student Commons platform. So I have invited Theo Seipels to come, and he is one of our co-heads of Student Commons. So he is a graduating senior this year. Charlotte also will be graduating, and our next guest up here will be graduating, which I am so excited for them, but I'm also really sad for me. But Theo, if you want to come up a little bit and just talk about how Student Commons has impacted you as a person, as a student, and then how it has developed some of your own leadership skills.
course, so my name is Theo, and I'm the co-head of Student Commons. So I'm in charge of organizing the group of moderators who look over Student Commons. But getting involved in the moderator team has just been an awesome chance to get to know a lot of people from all over a lot better. I initially joined trying to get experience serving, doing leadership, and to know more people. And I've been doing this for 3 years, and I've absolutely had a chance to do all of those things, but especially make some strong friendships. Because when you are doing moderating with your peers and classmates nearly every day, there's just a lot of opportunities to get to know your other moderators really personally and really deeply in a really cool way. So whether that just be talking, having conversations, something I love doing is calling with them, going over homework or studying for another test or playing games on the weekend. There's just a lot of opportunities to make friends through the moderator team. And I've actually had the opportunity to meet with one of them in person. So at the start of the year, we went to a trampoline park, and that was super cool. And I think talk about it later. But if you go to the end of your gathering, that's another cool chance to see your friends. It's also been an amazing chance for some leadership experience. I think just learning how to um, exercise discernment, that's great practice, or learning how to communicate better. But in general, just trying to emulate Christian servant leadership better and better as you just try to reach that golden standard a little bit closer. Um, but I think doing student comments has just been such a cool opportunity moderating, and it's also just been an amazing opportunity to get a bigger and stronger community.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Now, what we see up here listed third are our student mentors. So in addition to having student comments where the students can have these chat conversations with one another, and then we have our leadership team, aside from that, who are moderating all of these comments, we also have a student help desk. And the student help desk is geared for students who come with questions. Maybe they have a technological question. I don't know how to get logged back into my class, or my microphone won't work, or something like that. We also might have students who are struggling with academic areas and they would like some guidance on how to approach their teacher. Maybe they don't feel confident going to their parents about a topic or going to a teacher about something. And we have a mentor team who are there to encourage them to, of course, build relationship with those in authority over them. So trusted leaders, youth leaders, parents, other people that are in their lives. But the mentor team is also a very unique community of students. So Lauren Hall, she is our head mentor this year. I've asked her to speak a little bit to what it is to be a mentor and how this builds community and leadership skills from your perspective as well.
Absolutely. So, as Dean King said, I get to serve as the head mentor this year for Veritas. And I think one of the common misconceptions of online school is that students aren't able to have social interaction. And I would say here at Veritas, that is so far from the truth because many of my dearest friends in life have come from my experiences with Veritas and my classmates. And I had the privilege of serving on the moderator team for 3 years and now serve on the mentor team. And this is my third year on the mentor team, and I get to serve as the head and have so many deep friendships through that. But I get to serve directly under Dean King's leadership, and I train and come alongside the mentor team and the student body in different ways. And so the mentors are all students who take time out of their week to interact with the student body of Veritas. And we do this by writing emails. We run school-wide prayer and praise meetings each quarter. We write devotionals and encouragement posts every other week. We pray for students and we answer help desk calls. And so the help desk, as Dean King said a little bit, is a online anonymous chat-based call program. And so students can come to us and we'll answer these calls, and they can come with questions about life. They can come with questions about the Bible. They can come with tech issues. They can come with class issues maybe that they have, or interacting with classmates and teachers, or homework issues, and we get to answer them. And we are upperclassmen who have more experience in life than many of the students who are coming, and we get to come alongside them and pray with them and just support them in these years of high school and middle school and elementary school as well. And so I have seen the Lord's faithfulness in so many ways through serving as a mentor, and it is one of my absolute favorite parts of Veritas. And I'm so honored to serve the Lord through serving Veritas in this way. So yeah, the mentor team is such a special thing and is so dear to my heart.
Thank you so much, Lauren. And what we're actually in this season right now of selecting our leadership team for next year. So Theo and Lauren and our other co-head of Commons, Andrew Wilson, we meet together several times a week to interview candidates for these different positions. So not only are we looking to invest in the students that we have right now, we're also looking to invest in students who might be up and coming leaders in these programs. And it is also a really great experience for Theo and Lauren and Andrew to be on the other side of the table for interviews. So learning how to ask questions, drawing answers out of people that are meaningful, and they go beyond the yes and the no. So it's really a great experience for them. Now, you also see up on the screen that we have student government. So the way student government is structured, it is different than you would see in a physical school. We're not going to have students who get up and give speeches about how they promise the student body that they're going to have free Coke in the Coke machine every 2 weeks, or they're going to get rid of homecoming. And instead, they're going to take 2 weeks off of school, or whatever these campaign promises are that they make in those types of environments. And for those of you who have attended schools like that, you know exactly what I mean. But for student connections, again, this is all about drawing student body together. We call our student government student connections. And Theo is actually the president of our junior class. And Lauren and Charlotte also go to student connections meetings. And so, Theo, if you could talk a little bit about what just an average student connections meeting looks like, and how that also contributes to students getting to know one another.
Absolutely. I'm the president of the 11th grade as well. So my main responsibility is to make and organize these connections meetings with two other officers. But the connections meetings are usually 45 minutes long, and we will spend the first 5 to 10 minutes with a devotional and with praying over everyone who comes and just praying for a successful meeting. But then we will transfer to a game. So, for instance, a successful game we just had a few weeks ago is uh, me and the other officers, we organized a Jeopardy game. So we put a lot of thought into these questions so they weren't just plain trivia. But then we had a Jeopardy game where half the people who came were on one team and half the people who came were on the other team. And that went really, really well. But throughout the year, as these connections meetings happen, a community does form, and these friendships are made as you see these people over and over again, and it's just really cool to kind of get a break from school and talk with your classmates away from an academic setting. And we also have like a class chat that we use outside of meetings, so there's even an opportunity to talk to the people you see in the meetings when you're not in the meeting. But it's definitely a really cool opportunity to meet more people.
Great, thank you so much. So the connections meetings are going to be grade specific, but you can tell by the other activities that we do that not everything that we promote, not everything that we are trying to encourage students in community is just going to be their classmates. They're going to meet students outside of their classroom. They're going to meet students who have different interests. We also have, as you can see on our list here, we have some local Veritas Scholars Academy groups. We have pockets of people around, especially in the United States, who will get together at the beginning of the school year for a back to school potluck. And so one of the things that we try to do is not only connect students, but we also try to connect their parents. So we allow parents to sign up to be part of a directory, and then we publish that directory for that specific group of people so that they can reach out and contact people that maybe they didn't realize lived 2 miles away or 10 miles away, or maybe they realize that they're all going to attend the same activity in a major city, and so they might as well all get tickets and sit together. So we can't force community, but we encourage it basically at every step of the way, from the classroom to the parents and everything in between. Now you see up here, we also have field trips, and that was mentioned in the video. So here is a picture of, on the far left-hand side, that was the group of students and their families that traveled to Greece and Rome last year. I know that that was an amazing trip. It was very hot that time of year, and it was such a blessing because I was not traveling with them, but I happened to be in Athens the same time they were. And so, again, part of this community, I didn't want to just stay at my hotel. When I found out that we were all in the same city on another continent, I wanted to be able to meet up with them. And so I did. I made my way through the city, found some of them at their hotel, and it was just really, really neat. And it was an exciting thing. We wanted to see one another. On the upper right-hand side, that was a mission trip to the Dominican Republic that we took last summer. And so the students, you can see they're all hanging out, having fun, painting on the wall there. But they got to see what life was like for children who are far less fortunate than they are. And so this was such a unique and a blessed opportunity for them to be able to hand out food, to do a clothing drive for the kiddos that were over in the DR. We did games and activities, sports. We did little vacation Bible school lessons with them. And it was just such a great team building opportunity for them, but also to see how they could love on these other students who really don't come from a familiar background to them. And then the middle picture here is our up and coming mission trip to Kenya. We will be partnering with the Rafiki Foundation, and we'll be spending a lot of time with the children that they have over at one of their schools in Kenya and just ministering to them, loving on those kids and seeing how we can serve them and show them the love of Christ. All right. And then I think we had mentioned the end of year gathering. Theo mentioned that a little bit earlier. It was in the video. The picture that you see with all of those students clustered together, we have outgrown the size of that group by far. Last year, I remember when they took the picture, it went all the way to the top of the stairs and then cascaded several feet closer than what we see right now. And if I'm not mistaken, we have over 1,200 people coming to end of year gathering this year. So they get to actually see in person the people that usually just have, a head. They're a bodiless head on a screen. But one of the jokes with the end of year gathering is realizing that people actually have legs. And so it's just so fun to see, people are taller than you expect or shorter than you expect. And it's just so much fun for them to be able to hang out and play together and laugh together and sing praise songs together. I've seen many pockets of students who just sit around with a guitar and they're singing and they're just in that deep fellowship with one another. So again, it is about building friendships that last. And then as we think about the culmination, you saw some of the grads there. We see pictures of these grads celebrating together the accomplishments that they have had. So if I could have Rebecca come on up and share just our last little bit, and then we'll get to our question and answer session.
Thank you so much, Laura. So after hearing all of this, hearing about community, you might be wondering, is Veritas Scholars Academy a good fit for you? Well, I want to really encourage you to, if you're on the fence and you're not sure you want to pull the trigger, but you want to know more, please, please, please reach out. Meet with one of our family consultants. They are going to help you think through whether this is the best option for you. We here at Veritas genuinely want you and your family to find the best fit for you. Do we think it's us? Yes. But do we recognize that there may be different needs? We're here to talk you through all of those and help you think through. So we have something called our full-time diploma program. If you've been on our website, you may have come across this and you're wondering a little bit about the difference. Some people attend our school and they take just a few courses with us. We love to have them here. We're so glad for any time we get to interact with your students. But some students come and get an entire diploma through Veritas Scholars Academy. We're accredited by the Middle States Accreditation, which is a highly recognized accreditation. And so through the diploma program, we're going to set you up with an academic advisor who is going to work alongside of you, help you think through what are your goals? How would we help you to accomplish those goals with the courses that we have here? Do you need a lot of dual enrollment? How do we make sure we adjust your schedule for this? You have access to some of these communities in our full-time diploma program in a way that you might not if you're just a part-time student. Many of our community components are for all students, but we have some that are specific to those that are in the full-time program. These students are seeing each other in one another's class. They're building relationships. They're likely coming out to end of year gathering for graduation and probably for other times before graduation too. So There are huge advantages in that way. You have access to National Honor Society. That's one of our clubs that is very specific to being in the full-time diploma program. You'll get an accredited transcript, you'll get report cards every year, and a diploma at the end. We also have special graduation events. We have the graduation itself is an event for our full-time program, but we have other senior events as well that are specific to the diploma program, as well as even diploma that extends to families. We have special events for families of diploma students too, for moms to meet up or dads to meet up and have those times together. We help track your grades. We're keeping on top of any time that a grade might slip. This can be a huge asset. Although you have access as parents through our portal to live grades, we also have an advisor who's going to check alongside and maybe understand the system really well to help see, why is the student struggling? Are they struggling with homework? Are they struggling with tests? Where's the error? And how can we make a plan to help them improve? We have special seminars as well. And I can't emphasize this enough. I know I mentioned at the beginning, but you get an academic advisor. Our academic advisors are incredible. It is such an incredible group of women who are here and want to help you. We have advisors with different language experiences too. So if you have a special language need, we may be able to accommodate for that too. We help to assure that all requirements are met, help with college application process. Some of you might be deep in that season right now, thinking it through. Common App will help you with that, thinking through how to apply for aid and to give you resources to help you learn how to take charge and think through what you want to do after high school with us. So if you think that this is something that you might be just interested in, or if you're just interested in learning more about our courses, we encourage you to reach out to a family consultant. You can book an appointment right on our website and we'll get you signed up with someone right away and they'll reach out to you quickly. What I want to do is take some time, if you haven't done so already, in our Q&A pod, please make sure that you're asking the questions that have come up throughout this time, or maybe you came prepared with questions. I have a few that have already rolled in. I want to invite the other panelists up onto mic and camera so that we can go over it. I'm going to ask the questions out loud so you can all see. Perhaps someone has asked a question that you hadn't thought of before. So while the questions are rolling in, let's get started with some basic questions here. Dean King, do you have to be enrolled in classes at VSA to participate in a club?
Yes, you do. So that is one of the unique requirements that we have for our students. We want to make sure that not only it is a social environment, but we also want to be protective of that environment. So by knowing our students, that gives us a lot more comfort in having them participate in a club. And Theo, Lauren, and Charlotte, you guys can come up too. Mrs. Kavakshin, come on up as well.
Awesome, thank you.
I'd like to jump in with a question, if that's okay. So this would be geared toward our Lauren and Theo and Charlotte. So I didn't mention earlier, but Charlotte is a head event coordinator for our Student Commons. And so she does a lot with actually organizing full-blown activities for these different age groups. So maybe it's a game night or a movie night. So what I want to ask you guys, and this is based on a question that I see here, how are students selected for different leadership positions? So any of the three of you can take this, and then you can even talk about it within the student leadership team as well.
Well, specifically for the moderator and mentor team, we have interview processes. So students apply and they are given an opportunity to interview with Theo, me, and Mrs. King, and sometimes Andrew, the other co-head, comes as well. And so we ask them questions. We ask them about their faith, their testimony, their experience at Veritas, and their view of leadership too, to see if they would be a good fit to serving the team. Because we believe that leadership really comes from a heart set of service to others. And so we really want our leaders within the Student Commons team to be serving others rather than taking pride in what they're doing.
And I can talk about student government. So the way student government works is Mrs. King at right around now actually are people running for next year. But she will post a link to a Google Doc, and you have to fill out a page about why people should vote for you, attach a picture. There's a 3-minute video about why you should be elected and also talk about your testimony. There's a video of endorsement so you can get other classmates and people you know to endorse you for the position. And then finally, there's a creative video. So you have 3 minutes to basically leave your mark on why people should vote for you. And then once that get approved, the entire school diploma program will vote for you, and then that's how you get into student government.
Excellent. And then Charlotte, for you, how did you become a head event coordinator? You were already a moderator and a mentor on the team. How did you get a leadership position within a leadership position?
So I served as a just a regular event coordinator my first year of moderating, and I came to all the events and I did a lot of facilitating of the events. And when the other event coordinators needed more help, I always came. So that's how I got that because I was committed to it and I worked hard in the event team, and they wanted me to come back next year to do that more and take on more responsibilities to giving these events to the Commons each month. So, and I'm working on doing that for next year and making a new team of the people who I think will do a really good job next year, who showed up for all the events and really worked hard, and to give them that opportunity to serve again.
And I thank you all so much. Knowing that we're going to have a team of leaders in place for next year is a big deal. And we take this very, very seriously because we know that this community that we have at Veritas is unique and we need to love on it and be protective of it. All right, Rebecca, what other questions?
There's a question pretty closely related to what you were just sharing. If there's a new student who wants to participate next year, are they allowed to participate in a leadership position in their first year here with us, or how does that process sort of work?
So certainly new students are not excluded from the process. Now, I will say that if they are not currently students, they may be largely unaware of the application process because they're not on our class or our school platform. Now, if they join us in the fall and they start to see activities, maybe they've gone to the help desk and they've interacted with the mentors, or maybe they've been on Student Commons and they've seen, who is this person that has a star by their name and why are they telling people to be respectful of one another? So we have had new students who have asked questions about these different programs. And if it's something that they are interested in, they would be more than welcome to fill out an application. We usually roll out those applications at the end of February. So that gives them a few months to get some experience in the culture of Veritas, because that's going to be important for them if they are going to be a moderator or a mentor. They need to understand a lot about what the school's like. So they're not excluded, but just the timing of everything does give them a little bit of experience and opportunity to understand more about what the program's about.
Awesome. So I have two more questions about clubs that have come in from participants. One of them is, can students be in more than one club at any given time?
Mrs. Kabakchin, do you have any students that are in multiple clubs? Or have they shared that with you? She may not have good connectivity right now. Really the clubs are going to be offered at different times in different evenings. So it's really up to the parents' discernment on that. We know that if you have a 9-year-old, probably having them in 2 to 3 clubs a week might be a little bit much, but it's really just up to the scheduling and how it works out best for the families.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. What about this question? Would attending end of year gathering be recommended for a new student to meet other students? I'd really love to hear from any of the students who are here and maybe have been to end of year gathering. Would you think that was a good place for students to come and meet new people if it's their first year?
I would say 100%, like absolutely, if you can come to end of the year gathering. I know I met so many new friends there and got to connect with so many old ones too. And there's so many opportunities for activities. There's, the field day where you get to do different games and competitions together. There's different like club events like basketball or cave exploring or cooking day. And so you just get to meet so many people and just have different interactions and make so many close friends there that maybe you wouldn't even cross paths with online too. So Absolutely, 100.
Awesome. That's incredible. And this is related to end of year gathering, although the person writing the question might not have realized. This question says, silly question, any field trips? Do we have any field trips?
Boy, do we. So when we do field trips, we go big. So we usually have an international trip, which is more of an education focused trip. That was our the field trip last year to Greece and Rome. We do those annually, and then we also have our mission trip. So that's another field trip per se. And there are virtual field trips. So Lauren, Theo, or Charlotte, have your classes ever done any virtual field trips or anything like that?
I don't think my class has ever had a virtual field trip.
All right. Well, I mean, if you're going to be in person, you might as well, go all the way. And so end of year gathering is also considered, I guess, just kind of like that massive field trip. If you're going to have 1,100 or 1,200 of your closest friends there with you, it's kind of hard to miss that one. So yeah, so we have those types of field trips. I do know that there are some teachers who will do some virtual style field trips just to help the students engage outside of a book. But we have lots of opportunities, and what we have now doesn't mean that that program isn't going to expand as well.
Awesome. Are there any events or activities geared towards middle school students? I know we focused a bit on high school students here, but anything focused on middle school students?
Would any of you guys like to speak to that? Thinking way back when you were young?
I can go. So I joined in eighth grade, so just at the tail end of middle school. But I think personally, the club should not be underestimated for how much you can get involved. I personally joined the chess club, and everyone wants to be friends with everyone, so it's really easy just to get plugged in and make good friends when you're in middle school.
Yeah, absolutely. Those clubs, student commons, even some of the field trips. If we have parents or guardians who are willing to go with a student, we can take some students that are in that younger age range. Usually, what our limitation is, depending on site specific. So, we're not going to take a 10-year-old to Kenya for safety reasons. But on the field trip to Greece and Rome, if there was a 10 or 12-year-old that could keep up, and their parents or they sent a guardian along with, those students are welcome to join in on those. So they have many of the same opportunities that our high school students are. Most of what we talked about with our high school students have been like leadership positions. So the benefit of being a middle schooler attending these different events is to see what that leadership looks like and kind of pique their interest for what might come in high school.
Awesome. And I see two more questions here that I'm just going to respond to quickly, but feel free to hop in if you have something to expand upon here from students. Someone asks, is there an assessment test required for children to enroll? The short answer is no, not necessarily. But the longer answer is that we really do have assessments on hand to help place your students most effectively. There may be times and situations of your students coming later in high school and is needing to figure some things out that we would help with. But generally, you can come to the school, tell us your educational background, show us your transcripts, we'll work with you and get you placed in the right location. But we definitely have placement tests that will help you understand how to succeed best here at Veritas. But please don't let that be a barrier to entry, because we want to bring you in and we'll work with you. The amazing thing about a virtual space is we have flexibility in how to accommodate for your students' unique needs. And that's where the link that was posted that says if you'd like to talk to a family consultant, click that link and the family consultant will really walk you through how to figure out your best placement. Another question that was asked, are online teachers prepared to help homeschool students with IEPs? I'll speak briefly and administratively on this, and then any of the educators here who'd like to speak into this, I'd love to hear your thoughts too. While we don't have formal IEPs that we bring in, we do have educational accommodations. So students can present information, medical background, some of their experiences, maybe if they had an IEP in a traditional public school setting or private school setting, they can share that with us and we can use certain educational accommodations that would associate. In a virtual setting, we have different needs than perhaps in a brick and mortar setting. And so we really we set you up with someone who works with educational accommodations specifically, and they help the teachers to understand how to operate within the classroom in light of that. But it'll be different depending on the student's unique needs. Is there anything that either Tammy or Laura you'd like to add to that in your experience?
Sure. Most of what I experience in the classroom for students who have accommodations, it might be that maybe they have some anxiety when it comes to timed tests, or maybe they just have slower processing. So we're able to set up untimed quizzes and tests for them, which helps kind of lift that buzzer pressure off of them. Sometimes we have students also who maybe struggle with being able to think quickly on their feet to formulate an answer. And so they get worried that the teacher is going to call on them and they're going to be up on webcam and have to give an answer just on the fly. So some students who have accommodations, it might be one of those things where they just need maybe the question a little bit in advance. It's like, hi, Theo, I'll use an example, Theo, I'm going to have you answer question 3. And so while Lauren and Charlotte would answer questions 1 and 2, Theo has that opportunity to think about what he wants to say for question 3. So there is a wide variety, and we don't want to go into the weeds on that one, but there's a wide variety of the ways that the teachers can work with the students in the classroom, and then also just practically speaking on assignments and assessments.
And as you were talking, one last thing came up, and I think it applies to whether you have a student with needs for educational accommodations or just a student who has unique learning styles, as all students do. The virtual space has some advantages that you may not even be thinking of. For example, my son, who is on the spectrum, he struggles with sitting still and aiming directly at the computer. Well, when his camera is off, he can be up on his head, and it's okay in that period of time as he's listening to the teacher and engaging. It's his comfort zone. But then when it's time to talk, he can readjust and be there. That's something you obviously couldn't do in a brick and mortar classroom. It would be very disrespectful to everyone else in the room and distracting. So a simple advantage that might not be an official documentation, but is just helpful in a space like this. Sometimes we can think of the challenges and forget the extreme benefits too for all learners in all circumstances. So you don't have to worry about allergies. Your child can eat peanut butter here. They're not going to end up having that affect someone else in their classroom. There's a huge advantage to so many different aspects. And we really encourage you to reach out to a family consultant. As I'm looking, I don't see many other questions. But I do want, and we're here at 9 o'clock. So if you do have more questions after you've taken this in and you've thought it through, I really would love you to take some time to shift and click that link and go ahead and schedule time with a family consultant. They can walk through that information with you. And we're just so glad you were all here to learn a little bit more about Veritas Scholars Academy.
Mm-hmm.